recording.
Okay. Sorry to hear.
Dude, I don't feel comfortable if I'm like sitting
Just careful not to fall.
Hi, Professor. What's your name?
Goldberg.
Goldberg. Okay.
Goldberg.
You look like a glossary similar.
Yeah. I know. People come up to me all the time and say, I didn't know you. Oh, sorry.
This is way better. Because you know why? It is quicker for me to do that thing. I don't want to right here.
For now, just get a wide shot. And then you'll see that wherever that little box is, wherever Julie is the president of the Senate, so she'll be mostly no. The girl who's sitting over there, just left.
Wherever we can.
Yeah, so Casey had it.
Last time we sat at the back end of it.
Over here?
This is good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Good. Oh, somebody's here.
Good. Yeah.
Probably
Wants to be like down, but he likes to sit next to Brian. So busy. Yeah, you tell me about that.
And then I'm gonna stick you next to
No, what's he
And
doing?
everyone else just has they're like heavy committee or heavy department. They don't really, okay?
It was like this when I got here.
It isn't like, there's no assigned time. That's it wherever they want.
It wasn't me.
Mostly in a department.
Oh, I should pick up
Your spring break ready papers.
No, I don't think they can help you today.
They email him.
Where?
I have my pad. You can look at my pad.
Okay.
It's so much paperwork, I don't print it on email. I had to break my computer because I got tired of having 100 constants.
I have healthy snacks if you're interested.
Uh-huh. Granola?
Granola.
Homemade? Did you package it yourself?
No, it's like it's homemade. It's
Gospel.
$8.
How's my hair?
Oh.
Perfect line of sight right there, you know?
Right scoop.
You can even do it close up and you wouldn't even know.
I know, I see that when they go around.
Yes.
You did that across the
Hungry kids don't want anything.
basketball, that hoogie night.
So I got, so I gotta tell you this, so I got the nice microphone.
Hi.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Paid
yeah,
like
yeah.
$20 for it.
Yeah.
Good. How are you? Nice to meet you again.
And it works in
So
when you put it in, you have no access to the headphones. And there's no speaker.
Usually people who do it.
Pretty good, how are you? I love that color. How you doing, buddy?
I guess it looks handsome and beautiful all at the same time.
Does it get recorded?
No,
Oh, that's
that
good.
part is not recorded.
Okay.
But I need to hear, it tells me things like recording started.
Well, you know, we play, I think
Thank you, ma'am.
rock and roll that's influenced by the blues or blues rock,
When I
some
use
people
my
call it,
headphones,
it just depends. And, but we have
well,
5 CDs out.
Do you really?
And
Stands
I like
There's an
that.
ear and a microphone.
tour across the US.
So I
We
can
did a
hear
tour
what
in
it's
Europe.
saying to me.
No way.
We've gone to play in
This one is
Canada.
only
Yeah, our biggest show was
Yeah,
for
this is
6,000
It has
people
the connector.
at a festival in Canada.
No,
Yeah.
it has the standard connector.
So,
So now you're listed
But now I don't know
quick
which
links,
one
exactly.
it's saying.
I'm the lead
Because
guitarist,
then
lead
we'll
singer,
have to figure out the button.
songwriter, yeah. And so I've written all the music
When I
for our
first
CD.
recorded, I put it here.
So is
Well,
this
that's-
Yeah, thanks. That's
Yeah.
like my real life. This is my
When I
secret.
got
in
everything, I
life.
put it
People
here.
in that
I've
life
been working with Michael Kevin.
mostly don't know like this.
Festivals, you know, we've done that.
So it sounded kind of.
So that's
Now I know.
really interesting.
Overdrove it.
Yeah, I mean, if I could make
Next
enough
week or
money
middle,
Yeah.
we'll have a
doing
website.
that, I wouldn't be here, even though I love
Actually, I went back to
I
this.
love
and I
teaching,
found
but I
that it's
love
actually
music
not
more.
Minutes.
So I would do that if I could.
And the process is we want to create an experience for us to be able
And
to
she's
set
done
it.
really well.
You know, it's something that's easier to
And she's done
navigate.
really
So
well,
I know it's not
but
perfect, but the tab, the one thing is I could go set it list. Alphabetical, where before it was a little bit difficult. to
Everybody has to
navigate.
make that choice.
And I guess
Every
we'll
musician
do that.
does.
So we'll
There are
have to-
musicians who
I'll
look
have
down
it
on me
web page.
because I have that
That was all that.
and
Because I didn't But as you
I don't give a rip. I got a house, and they have, so, you know, when younger people do that, it's such a personal choice. You have to decide what the value is.
Now the verdict got
I mean, I know lots of musicians who have died because they didn't have proper medical health insurance. And I didn't want to be that. So I found a job. And my bills started to fall and winter. And then we do Western touring during our
So like during the summer, if
and usually during the school year, I'm sure a lot of my friends and friends who've had to take because I feel like so we're gonna start playing out again.
I'd like to come see what you're yeah.
Well, and you know, the easiest way is if you navigate to my website,
Yeah.
get on our email list.
Okay.
When I told them, well, but like, I don't feel like I really have to.
They can see what you're doing over by about 5 seconds.
We have a quorum, folks. Although I am missing our secretary and our immediate past president, they are otherwise obligated to architect interviews, so they will be joining us later. But we can get started because we do have a quorum. I counted and made sure of it. So let me ask, are there any alternates in attendance? Do I see any alternates? No? Okay. Then let's take a look at the agenda. And there are a couple of guests who will be joining us today, and I told them that I'd do my best to make sure that we could make their items time specific. So I would like to entertain a motion to accept making under item A on faculty issues new business the 50th anniversary celebration time specific at 3:30 and the student success elevated time specific at 4 p.m. If there are no objections to that, I'll entertain a motion and a second. Excellent. And a second? Fantastic. Are there any time-sensitive items that need to be moved? Ooh, very well then. May we adopt the, we'll take, with those two changes for time certain, can we adopt the agenda? Yes, sir. Ron?
I was looking at the faculty awards.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed we're way behind in
Yes, sir.
in the timeline. Should we move that up so that we get to it this meeting?
The faculty awards discussion, I will
Is it
put under
on?
president's report. Is that okay?
That's
So
fine.
that we address it there?
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Lori, did you have an item?
Corrections
Yeah.
on the minutes.
Oh, can we wait to adopt the agenda until we
Oh,
look
I'm sorry.
at the minutes? Is that
I missed
okay?
that. Sorry, I thought you said minutes. Forgive me.
My bad. If I did say minutes instead of agenda. I would like to adopt the agenda with those two changes for 3:30 and 4 under faculty new business. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. The agenda has been adopted. Now we'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. And a second? Fantastic. Lori, there was an alteration that you would like to suggest?
Yeah, I wasn't here, but I noticed that Adam Eckenroth's name is misspelled everywhere throughout the document.
Adam.
Yeah, not Albert. First off, it's Adam, not Albert.
Okay.
And so it's on page 1, 3, 6, and 7. And it should be Adam, A-D-A-M.
Okay.
And then Eckenroth is
ECKENRODE.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mark?
It's just that one thing in the curriculum committee, just one slight phrasing. The
Okay.
deadline for classes.
What page is that?
It's on page 4, if I put my glasses on.
Okay.
Pre-launch deadline for classes 2010 or older. Older rather than newer. That's all.
Okay.
That's it.
So on page 4 under item D, curriculum committee, it should now read curriculum chair Mark Majarian informed the Senate that the pre-launch deadline for classes 2010 or older is March 27th. Okay. Any other, Mark, I think I circled that your name was spelled wrong.
Yes,
On page
there
6?
are only 11 times extra that it's misspelled wrong.
Oh, only
But
11?
It's misspelled correctly, actually. It's spelled wrong, though, yeah.
Okay.
There's an extra O and not enough E's, but I don't know if
Okay,
we
so
can
we
leave it,
need to
but
fix Mark's name
probably, yeah.
all the way through. So it is correct on the first page?
Well, on the roll.
Okay,
Yes.
it's correct there and then wrong everywhere else?
Right.
Okay. Any other items? Yes, ma'am.
I was here and it shows me absent and present as the program review chair, so
Okay,
I was actually here for both.
all right, we'll fix that. Any other items? Well, then I'll point out the ones that I found. On page 4, under item J, District Council on Budget and Facilities, there's one too many C's in DCC. The difference between DCCC and DCC is huge. The District Coordinating Consultation Council, got to get these right, versus the District
Curriculum coordinating.
Thank you. So there's one too many C's on that one. And then on the top of page 5, the Senate is moving to forward the name of Becky Floyd instead of Beck Floyd. And I got Mark's name. And I think that was all of them. So with those changes, are we okay to approve the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. We have approved our minutes. Public commentary. Do we have anyone here for public commentary?
Hi.
Welcome, Ashley. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Ashley Griffith. I'm the Special Project Director for Student Equity. I just wanted to come and say thank you for selecting 2 people to serve on our Equity Committee. We are really hoping to have a lot of faculty presence. And also, just to let you know that the Student Equity Funding Request Form is still out and is still available. So if you guys have any funding requests for any projects or activities that you might want to do with your students, or anything that you were thinking to, just start up, if you have ever wanted to get something funded and didn't have the opportunity. This funding period, 2014-2015 budget is good through September 30th. So I still have time to use this budget before I have to use 2015-2016. So there's still time.
Are there any caps on what they can put in for in terms of monetary value?
There are no caps right now.
And types of activities?
There's a list on the Student Equity Funding Request Form, and if I can send that to you and maybe you send it out, there are a list of things that are allowable expenditures. So, and Keith knows all about it. He's on the committee. So, yeah, the list will give you a complete detail. Thank you
So much. I appreciate it. Any others for public commentary? No? Seeing none, then we will move on to faculty announcements. And I'm going to pass this around. Our esteemed colleague to my left, Dr. Goralski, is doing Perspectives in Forensic Archaeology from the Unidentified Persons Project. That presentation will take place on Thursday, April 30th from 2 to 3. Do you want to tell them anything more about it?
I've just been part of this project for the last few years. Individuals that could not be identified using forensic science at the time go into the ground as John Doe or Jane Doe. And we have individuals in San Bernardino County who are John or Jane Doe dating back to 100 years ago. We exhume those individuals and do modern forensic techniques, including tissue and bone sampling for DNA analysis. in an attempt to identify those individuals. And so what I'll be doing over the course of the lecture is talking about what forensic archaeologists do, my involvement in the project, and some of the things that we found out as a result of the work we've been doing. So talk's going to be about 45 minutes. I'll leave some time for questions. It'll be mostly focusing on this project, but I also work on murder cases, mass casualty events, and things like that. I'll throw some of that stuff in as well. But it's a talk that I'm giving a shorter version at the Society for American Archaeology meetings, and so I'm just expanding it. It's going to be pretty interesting. I would like for as many people to come as possible. Thanks.
All right. Any other faculty announcements? Keith?
Reminds me, our colleague Peter Matthews on the 21st, same location, same time, but it's Tuesday, April 21st, so a little bit ahead of this. He's doing a talk on his book, which relates to money and politics, which should be real good. I think it's officially 2 to 3:30. Humanities 131 on Tuesday, April 21st.
Any other faculty announcements?
okay.
Hold on. We had public commentary, I'm sorry. Any other faculty announcements? No more? Okay, then moving on to special reports, associated students.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. I have several things to announce. Yesterday, we were able to have what's called a Women's Recognition Tea, recognizing different faculty members. I'd like to print out the actual list. I just remember Coach Margaret Moore won Most Inspirational, and our Woman of the Year was Miss Becky Rojas, which is special to us at the Associated Students Student Activity Center that works with us. We were able to recognize even honorary members, honorary candidates. This was the students voted, and we sent out the email for everyone to vote, and I was looking for several of you all to be there. What happened? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I love you all. But anyway,
There was no reminders, though.
Yes, I don't know.
There was none.
I'm so sorry. But also, you have until Friday, the deadline for to donate your clothes. There's still a box outside, at least in the Student Activity Center. So if you cleaned out your closets and your garages on spring break, you should have plenty of clothing to share. That deadline is on this coming Friday. I think it's 12 noon. Also, I don't know if you all got emails that AS, the Associated Students, gives out scholarships. Did you all get that email? Yeah. Let your students know the deadline for that is also this Friday. They still have until tomorrow by 5 p.m. Please make sure to get them in because we really want to, show our support to them and thank the students and, bless them real good. Also, you have an opportunity to connect with the campus and with the clubs on several events. Tomorrow is World Fest. Remember I said we're going to have food from Italy, Israel, the Philippines, Mexico, Jamaican food, Palestine, and Japanese food so far. That's what I know. Come by and get your samples. They're going to be out there at the pond, and make sure you get your sample. Tell them Tanya sent you so they don't hold you back. That's tomorrow on the pond, so you know what's going on. And also next Wednesday is Sex Day. We celebrate love and sex acceptance and diversity and education and health. Okay, that's again at the pond. That's Wednesday, April 22nd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's sponsored by called the Diversity Committee. Y'all, yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is Women's Awareness Month as well as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So these are the activities that are going in regards to them. On the 30th, which is a Thursday, they're having a flashlight visual from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We try to get as many flyers out and leastwise email you of all these things that are going on. And as much as you can, please come and participate. I just love to see you there. On April 23rd, we're having our 16th annual Cypress College Parent Night from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's a college fair and a presentation in the Fine Arts Theater. It's hosted by Cypress College academic counselors. So we want you to be there. There'll be overviews of admission, assessment, orientation, registration, financial aid, programs offering the deadlines and key dates. All that's offered on Parent Night. Our Human Services Club. I chair the Interclub Council. They were the ones that are doing the clothing. They're also participating in the sexual awareness events, and they're having they're going to do a Surfrider Beach cleanup on Saturday, April 11th. They're participating in the Ronald McDonald House, the OC Ronald McDonald's House, because the our CCVO is participating in the one, I think is in Santa Monica, the LA branch. They have 3 different branches. But that's on Sunday, April 12th, where they participate in the Ronald McDonald House. And what I mentioned about the close is the DoSomething.org comeback close, and that ends this Friday at noon. One last thing, I don't know how they reached out to us, but they're building a new playground that's coming to Twyla Reed, and they reached out to us for volunteers. They have prep days Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, April 29th through May 1st from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then they're having a build and ribbon cutting day Saturday, May 2nd from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we're talking Disneyland, City of Anaheim, the Y is called Kaboom. They're sponsoring this, and they're going to build like a park in one day. And they reached out to us, and so we were able to get some participants, and the clubs are going to do that as far as voluntary work as well. So we're connecting. We said, what's my thing? I'm having y'all say they build together. Connectivity.
Yes, ma'am.
Increases positivity and dismisses negativity. Connection with your peers, faculty and staff, and your campus leads to student success. Y'all have a great day.
Tanya, thank you so much. Would you like to connect with your peer in the back and see what she wanted to address?
She was actually, because she's aware of the event that you were participating in now.
I want to talk about Peter Murphy Professor Fight for the Education Right.
What time is it?
Oh, Tuesday at March 26th at the Cypress, April 21 from 2 until 3:30 in Lecture Hall 131.
Yes.
And at Cypress College.
Yes,
and Peter Murphy, he fight for all of your education right and fight for the professor, the job right, includes the job. I think he will run for the government position at the CA governor, and he said he will make the rule say spend more money on the education. Be sure all the professors have the job and have enough money to pay for your salary, fight for your job and fight for students' right, lower the tuition and close the loophole for the rich people, the corporation. The rich people, they are so rich. Why the government still want to pay so much money to help them and they then pay so little tax? They should pay more tax, the rich people and the corporation. So please come to join his speech and invite all your friends and the students. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
You know, and faculty, what update do you have for us?
We had our elections, and you're looking at your president. Thank you for your voting support. Those of you who did not vote for me, I hope that you will come, and I do include everyone. I mean, I want to hear from everyone, their problems and stuff, because we're in this together, you know, in everything we do. Dana Clayhane was also voted vice president. We have now, we created a structure just like we did here in the Senate. So we now have a representative council, and Dale Craig became our site representative for Fullerton. We have site representatives over, and we rotate. I mean, the positions open, and you know, so we won't have everyone going off the board at the same time. So we have president, vice president. Next year it'll be secretary, treasurer. So I encourage anyone to come to our meetings. We have them here on the even months, and on the odd months they're over at Fullerton on Wednesdays from 3 to 5. Gabriel Fernandez, whom I don't know and I haven't met yet, she's won seat 11, and I think that's a Fullerton position. Jennifer Combs, who's over there in Fullerton, is site representative for seat 12. Phil Demetriadis, seat 13. R.J. Dolman, and these are all new faces and new names, so I'm glad to see a lot of new people are getting involved. He's in seat 16. Karen Markley, she's on the board, and she's in seat 18. These are all site representatives, and our own Renee, and I'm going to kill your name, Renee, Sensala, is our seat 21, our representative here. I also did want to say we are in negotiations. You will be receiving an email soon from our President Dale Craig asking us to attend the next board meeting. And it's a positive thing to actually thank the board for working towards the 75th, bringing us up to the 75th percentile. Last year when we were negotiating, that was the big negotiation was, we want to be in the 75th percentile of salaries to attract new people, to give our students the best educators possible, to be able to do that within districts of the same. So we had come up with 7 districts that we are looking at, or that the district has accepted that are the same, and all of our comparability is being done on that. And so we just want to encourage everybody to come to the board meeting to thank them for agreeing that, yes, they did do that. They are moving towards this, and I think we should have an offer soon. That's it.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that. We don't have a staff development rep. I'm guessing they're also in PBC with Gary and Brian interviewing the architects, so we'll hold off on that one. Curriculum committee, what do you have for us, Mark?
I have 2 candidates for the subcommittee for the baccalaureate. I just emailed you. You may not have received. I want to make sure she knows. Jennifer Hurley, who is articulation, and Jessica Nelson for matriculation. I still have one other invitation out, which means I still want to fill one more position, but I have an invitation out for that. I'm waiting to hear, and then I'll open it up to the committee next time to see if we have someone here that can refer me to somebody or would like to step up for that. And good news is always good. I've succeeded finally. I think by the beginning of next week, if not by the middle of next week. I know you can't wait to look at this. There'll be under the tab of quick links, there'll be a link for web pages devoted specifically to the curriculum committee for agenda minutes and some other documents that everybody could look at and have fun reading. That will be a great resolution. This is an ongoing struggle to have our agenda posted quickly and easily. And I also managed, while I was doing that, working with Mike Kavanaugh and George Isaac, who I can thank in media services to help me with that finally. I also, while we were there, I said, can't you create a button that is more easily found and navigable for the Academic Senate? So now the Academic Senate is listed in alphabetical order under the tab of quick links. So all I do is hit quick links and it'll say Academic Senate, you punch it. I don't know, I'm old, so I've always had trouble finding that page. And I end up going into the search field and ending up on Google and then backtracking. So now there'll be a quick link button for that, and by the end of next week a quick link for curriculum committee, which will help resolve some things quickly. That's it.
Thank you so much, I appreciate that. Since staff development walked in, are we at a point where you could give us a report?
Yes, let's see. We're working right now on the classified appreciation luncheon, which will be held on April 24th. And we're starting, to pull things together for the end of the year luau, and the date is in May, but I can't remember it right now. We had a very successful, I think, first emerging technologies in education and instruction at Fullerton College yesterday. That was a joint effort between Fullerton's School of Continuing Ed and Cypress and the district staff development committee. And I think it was attended by around 50 people, roundtable discussions with faculty demonstrating some of the technology they use in the classroom, from free apps for your cell phone to iPad use in the classroom and stuff. And we're going to try to make that an annual event, so I think it's going to be something that that faculty will really enjoy. We had a guest speaker as well. Anyway, that went well. And that's all I can think of right now. Thanks.
And the next funding?
Oh, yes, our last funding cycle is in progress right now. The deadline is noon, Friday, April 17th. We moved it from the 10th to the 17th. And you might want to tell your faculty that I've talked to Karen Kant. We could actually fund something that you might be doing this summer. We wouldn't be able to reimburse you for it until July 1, but in other words, if you're going to a conference this summer, you could still submit a proposal, and we could consider that, carrying over some funds.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Academic Senate Treasurer's Report. Thank you. Cypress College Foundation.
Everyone should have received an email about the mini grants. So look at that. It is due May 1st, Friday by 4 p.m. for any project that you may have that is $500 maximum. So just a reminder to look at your email for that. That's it.
Oh, fantastic. It just seems so apropos that we're at the foundation and we're almost at 3:30, and I asked that we put Raul at the 3:30 mark. So why don't we let Raul step in at this point?
Thank you very much. I was hoping I could make an entrance, and it worked. So. Thank you. I had the chance 2 weeks ago to talk to you a little bit about our upcoming 50th anniversary. Cypress College will celebrate 50 years during the 2016-2017 academic year. As I mentioned, it will be a celebration of stories. And as I mentioned, everybody has a story. And whether it's a club, whether it's a program, whether it's a department, whether it's a student service, I mean, everybody has a story. You think about what has happened over the last 50 years, and it's the result of what we have done, what people have done, and inevitably there are stories along the way. You know, will everyone be interested? Well, of course not. But I'm really encouraged that, I think it was year before last, I just did a little poll at opening day, and 75 people expressed some interest, or at least request further information about participating in the 50th. I think that's incredible, 75 respondents. It sent a note to retirees recently, and 25 retirees came to a meeting to just hear about what we might do for the 50th, what they might do to participate. And the 50th, in essence, is the stories that we have on this campus times all the groups that have those stories, and that will be the foundation of the celebration. It's a collection of campus stories, and that makes I think our job easier from the standpoint that we're inviting folks to tell their story. The group that is involved in the 50th, as I mentioned, it's not the steering committee. Initially, that's what we had said we were going to be. But we're not providing the steering. We're not in the driver's seat. It's a coordinating committee, and we want to coordinate the stories of the different areas on campus. Just kind of fun, let me pass out just in going through some materials, found a 1981-82 personnel directory. Very fun to take a look at some of our folks.
Does it have pictures?
And it does have pictures. And if you haven't seen it, this is the history, A Tree Grows in Cypress, written by Pat Gaynor for our 40th anniversary, and she has agreed to update it for our 50th anniversary. And I think not everyone is aware that this exists, but another just cool resource. So we want to update this, and we want to do something that is the kind of a where are they now? And how do we engage alumni? The key, by the way, to alumni development and successful alumni development, there are two elements. One is good data, and for every year, before now, we haven't had good data. And every year, believe it or not, that gets a little worse. The second part is engagement. Well, getting the data part, fortunately, we have some resources that we didn't have before. Budget and Planning approved a position at the foundation of an alumni coordinator, and their job is to gather names and accurate information. In fact, one of the things that we need mostly from folks on campus, which is very important, is the names of students. Who is it that just has to be a part of this? Who is it that belongs as a participant in our 50th anniversary? That we all, or most, have had the experience in our lives when we're at an impressionable age, and an adult will reach out to us, believe in us more than we believe in ourselves, It has that life-changing experience. And how often is that an instructor? Well, most of the time it is. So rather than going through all of our names and admissions and records, we have access to that. Rather than going through other sources, we want to start from the inside out and have faculty and staff and retirees identify the students that belong here. So the successful alumni development is data collection and engagement. And we have a couple of former AS presidents leading that effort. Jeanette Vasquez and Jose Gonzalez they put together some get acquainted mixers. They've just started doing that. We've relaunched the alumni Facebook page. So, I mean, that's the other piece of it. It occurs to me that one way to have folks respond to a call for action is to ask for their story. What's the one thing you remember about Cypress College? Who's the one or two individuals that you would like to see from Cypress College? If we haven't been engaged with folks for a long time, I mean, how do we do that? I think it's by inviting folks to tell us what their experience was. Some folks are not going to take the time. They aren't. But I think enough folks will, and more importantly, I think the right folks will. They want to thank a faculty member. They'd like to see a couple of their fellow students. I think a lot of the students that want to reconnect were involved in a club or a program or a particular activity. When we think about our college experience, that's what we think about. We don't think of the entire college. We don't think of an entire university. We think about the individuals. And I think that will be a key way to invite folks to engage. And then we gather those stories, a paragraph apiece. If it ends up being really lengthy, wonderful. But include all of these stories in alphabetical order, however many we can gather before we need to put it to print. And I think folks will respond to one, finding what other folks have done, finding what retirees are doing. They are a part of this as much as students are. When I mention alumni, I should say alumni and retirees. And I think folks also are interested in seeing their own story in print. So that's one idea that we have. We have three audiences. We have our campus community now. We have the local community. And honestly, we could do a celebration next week for either of those two audiences. We're well connected to the community. We have our folks on campus. But it's that audience, alumni and retirees, with whom we need to connect the most. What will draw them is their experience with others at the college. I'm delighted that we have now some resources to effectively reach out and contact and engage some of our former students. And we have a connection with many of our retirees. When we ask folks to identify some students, we'll want the student's name, the year that they came here, as much information about the student as you can provide, and then it'll be our job to do the legwork and locate that student. There are services, there are vendors that provide a service, and they are alumni finders. You provide them a list of where someone once lived, and they can tell you where that person is today in about 80 or 80+% of the cases. And it's not prohibitively expensive, but that's what we're going to need to do. The records that we have now are obviously quite outdated. So our campus community, the surrounding community, and our alumni and retirees. So as far as the academic senate is concerned, we want your story. You can go downstairs and see who all the past presidents of the college were. I was just at a meeting at an Associated Students, and they've got a picture of all the previous AS presidents. I've never seen that on campus for the Academic Senate. But I think that's certainly as worthy as the others.
We have a plaque.
What's that?
We have a plaque.
Oh, okay, so you've
Plaque
got
with
names. Okay. I'm confessing I have never seen it. Where is it?
It's hidden in the academic center office.
I've only been here 15 years. Will you tell me where that office is in a year or two?
Actually, I did that for the 40th anniversary.
Oh, okay.
Put that together for that.
I wonder if we still have some of that information. So our job in the foundation will be to serve as a resource in some of these efforts. And I know that you are in a lot of different communities. You're in your department, you're involved with a club or a program, you're part of the Academic Senate. But you know better than most that what the stories are. So we're asking the campus, what's your story? What's your idea for sharing it, and how are you going to share it? And that's where the bulk, that's where the meat of our celebration is going to come. We want to have a recognition that lasts throughout the year. However, the focus is going to be on the spring in a 3 to 4 week period. The one thing that I learned from looking at what Fullerton College did on their 100th, went to a couple of their events, excellent, first-rate events. But they did 38 events. You can't sustain enthusiasm and energy for 38 events, period. So I want us to have a fall event, some recreation, an event surrounding the flagpole ceremony, the raising of the flag on September the 12th, I think is the date that we did it in 1966. Then there'll be some displays, there'll be some static displays, but in the spring will be the emphasis on the celebration. We want to invite folks to campus on a Saturday in the spring, probably in late March, probably on a Saturday, probably on an afternoon. And the more folks we can get on campus, the better. Perhaps having folks go to a department or division initially, and then adjourn to a campus-wide reception on the gateway at the pond. Have some kind of program that really is powerful, that just demonstrates the best of Cypress College, in a way to celebrate what we do and to reconnect with folks with whom we want to continue to have a relationship. So what I'm here to do is to share the information, to ask you to start thinking about what your story is and how you might share it, and to help us locate students. You will be hearing from me with various invitations to do that, but start thinking of it, thinking of students that you might identify. One of the retirees on our committee is Donna Fries. She has stayed in touch with a ton of her students. Great resource. Questions or comments, or we're on our way, I think.
We have 2 alumni on our faculty in the nursing department. That would be a very good start for you. They've come back and taught with us.
Absolutely. There's a couple of alums sitting around the table. So I won't say who they are, Pat and Gary.
Can we have a museum? Can we have like a display museum where we have artifacts? Like the 3rd floor has got some artifacts on the wall, Like maybe a card catalog from the library, some stuff from SEM, old science equipment that's no longer being used, an 8-inch disk drive,
The library has maintains historical items.
Yes.
Met with them. They're going to take responsibility for some kind of display. I envision, though, that I think maybe each division will have some kind of display. If you think about what is in the PE office, and they have that timeline, it may not be something to that scale, but why not have a display of some of the folks that have come through that area? One of the things Fullerton did a nice job of was in their legends and legacies. and they highlighted a lot of their former students. But they had it off campus, the museum. They set it up, and it was done. They took it down. I think any efforts that we undertake to feature some of our alumni, some of our former faculty members, why not have that remain a permanent part of what we do on campus? And it costs a little bit of money, but we recognize that.
Thank you so much, Raul. We're looking forward to the events that are going to celebrate our 60th.
That particular journal, are you planning to create that or compile that with the stories and then sell that, or just give it away, or put it on so many?
Publication?
Yes.
I don't think we'll give it away. That tends just to take away any value that it has. So my thought today is that we would attach a price to it that we're not going to try and make money on it. I mean, we're not going to do that. But not even cover the cost, perhaps, but give it some meaning so folks will have some investment when they get it.
Do you have any more copies of that one?
Of which one?
The 40th one that Ms. Pat did.
We've got about, I have about 6 copies of it. I don't know if there's others floating around.
I have a few. May I? Or even borrow it to share?
By all means.
How much you want me to pay for it?
$5,000.
Oh,
I will send one over. Send me an email, and I'll just send one over and you can take a look at it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Raul.
Okay. Get the books back.
All right.
I need the books back.
Back to special reports is Basic Skills Committee, and I did not receive a report from Cindy. I will reach out to her. I did have a report in my inbox after the last meeting that I forwarded out to everyone that evening. So that leaves us with student learning outcomes. What you got for us? No report. And program review. Tell us what's been going on.
Okay, so here's our annual report. I'll pass it around. You can have the opportunity to review it. I'll go over a couple of key highlights. We've reviewed 14 programs in the long form review, and we sent our summary from that. Generally, we are still doing the process where the faculty presents a written report and then comes in and shares highlights of their program with us. And that's a collaborative exchange of ideas where we might give recommendations that are not intended as policy, but as ideas that you might want to consider that other people have mentioned, that kind of thing. So our overall goal is to keep it collaborative and in the spirit of let's all improve our programs, not any kind of policing. Given that, we summarized the key findings on the third page, I'm sorry to put page number, on the back of the first page. There are a lot of great things happening on this campus, so we listed those, and you can review those. But the AAT programs are moving right ahead. We have a high number of people getting those degrees. We have all kinds of new things happening in the programs. Feel free to read that at your leisure. In addition, we did talk about 3 different areas. One was ideas for improving student success, ideas that have global implications to the college, and documenting program student learning outcomes. That was one of the issues that we've also talked to Sarah about, and I'll go over that in a minute. But if you flip now to global departmental issues with broader applicability, there were some common themes. The ratio of full-time to part-time faculty in some departments continues to be an issue. The clinical lab equivalency, for example, in the nursing program, they work really hard in the lab, sometimes harder than they do lecturing, they said, and that they're paid less, and so that was an issue. That they expect 4 to 5 retirements. Retirements, everybody gets nervous when you have a lot of people retiring at once, that they're not going to be able to replace all those people, and what are we going to do? We have accreditation issues. More administrative responsibilities for some people, so release time, which we know is a subcommittee here at Academic Senate. In addition, there's some programs struggling with a repeatability issue that would no longer repeat. So skill development seems somewhat limited, so we're trying to find ways, either through curriculum or otherwise, to compensate for that. The other big issue was supply budgets haven't been increased for 10, 15, 20 years. We heard all kinds of different estimates, but people are still operating on the budget they had a long time ago. So that seemed to have global implications. The lab space in some cases needs to be bigger. One of the issues was CTE programs find themselves with a little bit of softer enrollment right now, and they feel like they're competing with private schools, particularly on the internet. And they feel like they need help marketing their programs and getting support for their programs, because if a student goes online, now up pops the first pay for your degree program that you can, get. And not to be dismissive of those, but some of those are just pay for a piece of paper programs. Some are legitimate competition, but competing with those, faculty were saying we would like some support in that area. On the SLO reporting, as you recall, last year, we agreed in Academic Senate that we would ask everybody to report the summary of their SLOs, not the individual course SLOs, but the overall courses that you did, the overall number of students, and the number that were successful. So Sarah created a report in TrackDat that summarized that information, gave us the total number of students, the number that were successful, and we asked everybody to either provide that document or give us something comparable. So this is the result of what we got in program review. Some programs said, no, we work with outside agencies. Some people said, we didn't have enough staff, couldn't do it. If they did, I put their explanation here. We didn't feel that it was within the scope of program review to administer any kind of, because we don't know from an accreditation standpoint where we actually stand on SLOs. So we're just reporting what we got as in terms of the results, and what we do with that going forward will probably be somewhat influenced by what we have to do for accreditation. But at this point, these were the results that we had. Overall, of the 14 programs that we looked at, we had an 85% success rate, which again, that's self-reported, so, who knows. It's, but we evaluated 586 classes, we did 18,000 students participated, and that gives you a sense that we are doing it. And, it has all the things that go with it. So rather than get into a big discussion on SLOs, we'll just skip right over to CTE, 2-year short forms. As you will recall, we also do a short form review for all career technical education programs every 2 years in the even numbered years. So this was our year to do that. The results, the programs that we reviewed are listed here for the 2-year. Most of the issues were the same as that were identified in the long-term form. Supply budgets, release time, the marketing need for outreach. Remember, these are all CTE programs, so they all have the similar need to have some kind of presence on the internet for competition purposes. They did cite the fact that there are some programs that are heavily reliant on grant funding, and what happens if that grant funding ever were to go away? It could seriously handicap some of the programs. So that was identified, and a couple of programs. In looking forward in the last page, programs, we won't be doing this 2-year form this year. There was discussion, should we be doing this every 3 years? Could we extend it to every 6 years? And the committee is open to considering all of that. We do see some changes maybe happening at the state level with the institutional effectiveness plan that could change how we do program review a little bit. So the committee decided, let's wait, go through this next cycle before we change it all and then have to change it again and really frustrate faculty. But we do have sort of a working idea that perhaps we would do it every 6 years. with a short form every 2 years that would be the same for the CTE people and the regular faculty. That would be more of a checkbox. You doing okay? Yep, yep, yep. Oh, no, we have a problem, then comment on that. So it would be more of a short form, hopefully one-page document that we would do. Yes?
I actually created it,
Thank you.
so I'll send it to you.
Okay, so we are open to considering. So if faculty have ideas that you want to share with us, we're open to considering what anybody has. So coming up for next year, I listed the programs that are up for the next cycle. So you can just check that if you'd like.
Good.
Any other questions? Feel free. Yes.
I gotta tell you, Kathleen, this is probably the best program review report I've ever gotten the whole time I've been in the Senate. I want to thank you.
It's so nice to have you here.
Super job. Thank you.
Just an absolutely beautiful job. Any other comments? All right. Then we'll move on to item J, District Council on Budget and Facilities. There has not been a meeting. There is a meeting on Monday from 2 to 4, and I will not be able to attend, so I'm looking for an alternate to go in my stead. Any interest? Mark? I see a nod of his head. So if I forward over to you the items on the agenda for CBF, you might be able to attend in my stead? That's Monday from 2 to 4? Okay. So Mark will take care of that for me. That moves us on to the President's report, and I asked Mike Kavanaugh to address the student email issues. So Mike, JY, is he here? Oh, fantastic. JY, this is the man who will make it happen if it is to be so. Mike, what can you tell us about student email addresses?
Student email, or giving students email on campus, we thought about it a lot. We couldn't do it with group, well, we could have done it with group-wise. The real issue behind it is support. It's maintenance of those email addresses, providing those email addresses. Students that come to the community college, to come to Cypress College, they come in varying time lengths. And so turning those accounts on, turning those accounts off, changing those accounts, it's a bit of a nightmare to maintain all that. Right now we have 1,000 accounts that service just the employees. So now we're talking about adding 14,000 more accounts and having to keep watch over those accounts and everything that goes with that. So we still talk about it in the office. We're a staff of 9. But for the last year, I've been on banner steering. I've been put on banner steering. I'm part of my gateway steering. And what I've talked to each of those entities about is, as a district, providing student emails. And that starts with CCC Apply. So when a student comes in, does their CCC Apply application for college here, they would get an email address just like they would at a 4-year institution, whether it's private, public, whatever. That seems to work better. By doing that, when we communicate with the students or the students communicate with us, it's all within our own system. So that solves a couple of problems that we've had a lot in the past, over the past a lot of years. And that is mainly with Yahoo accounts. We discourage Yahoo accounts because we keep getting locked up there. We can't talk to anybody at Yahoo to say, hey, can you whitelist anything that comes from Cypress College to whomever? We've only been able to do that, as I recall, one time. And it worked for a while and then it changed. Google hasn't been a problem, Microsoft hasn't been a problem, but I think that would solve a lot of problems if as a district we decided to do that and follow the footsteps of the 4-year universities. It would make things a lot easier. Banner steering has been really receptive to it. So is my gateway steering. It solves a lot of problems for a lot of people. So at this point, we haven't moved on it, but it is being considered more now than it has been before. We've also talked about it in the Technology Consultation Council, TCC. So it's a topic there as well. But that's why we haven't done it. We just haven't gone there yet. So, and I know there's some little perks. Sometimes students have asked me about doing this before. Amazon Prime is one of them. Amazon Prime only gives you 6 months as a student or faculty or a member of the educational community. They give you 6 months free access, and then you get charged full line for it. So it's a little bit misleading in that sense, but that's where we are with it. Fullerton College does provide email addresses to a group of students, not all of them. Students that go into their labs, that use their labs, they're provided email addresses, but the people in the labs are the ones that are setting those up for them. When I spoke to my counterpart at Fullerton, there's less than 10% of the students are actually using that email address in the space that's allotted for them. So people tend to go with what they prefer and what they've used all the time rather than having something else, and that's just how it works out. So those are really the reasons why we haven't gone there yet, but it's not something that I'm steadfast in saying, nope, it's not happening. I just think it's better utilized as a district or as a community college district, you know, with each of the entities here. I think it would better serve everybody. Any questions?
For Mike?
No, I think that was well said, and I answered a lot of my questions. As long as it's still out there in the air and it's being talked about and discussed, I think it'd be better as a district email as well.
How would it hurt to have, like, say you created 14,000 emails and they left or didn't use it? How would it be difficult to dump it, or would it be not advantageous to, like, just, because it basically, if I had created an email address and I don't use it, I just don't use it.
Right.
But would it hurt us to do that if we did create emails for our
Because
students?
it's space. It's space and keeping the system clean, because we have this system built sort of on a hierarchy, and keeping that space clean, keeping that space empty, keeping up on management. With the old system, when an employee leaves, I get a notification from Human Resources, and then we know that we start the process of deactivating access and on down the line. And that starts at the district and then down onto the campus. So there's a process for all of that, and it takes several people to do that. So if you can imagine, there's only so many retirees, so many people leaving, so it's different.
Yes.
How's that different with maintaining their personal emails? They'll have to maintain that and delete those and all that as well with their personal.
Yahoos and the Googles and the Hotmails, I don't know what they do with it.
They advertise.
I have a
So they
Yahoo.
can afford, you've got your pop-ups and stuff, and people pay to do that. So they can afford to keep you on there so they can advertise because they think they may get your money.
I'm at a school, and they're in the school's database having to delete like students' accounts after they graduate and all that. I mean, they still have to do that. So how would that be different than with the Cypress College email or district email? Do you still have to maintain those email accounts?
Somebody still has to maintain it. But again, we're a staff of 8, plus an administrative staff, support staff. At Fullerton, they're a staff of 18. And so it's a little bit different in that sense. But again, their student population is just a subset of the population that does that. I spoke to my predecessor before about how they did it at Victor Valley College. They kind of started it and they stopped it, and kind of lost track of what Frank wanted to do after that, because they switched systems. They went to Google, and then right away they switched over and they went to Microsoft. So
Mike, who's maintaining it now? That's what, I don't understand what you're saying.
right now, we're maintaining our own, our
You're
1,000
maintaining
addresses.
the
Yeah,
students too?
well, we provide student email addresses for the Senate, for the, help me out. Thank you. Oh, that was great. So, for those folks, we maintain those addresses, and they come and go just like everybody else, so that's not a real huge issue.
Thank you, Mike. I appreciate you taking time to address the Senate.
Thanks for having me again, I appreciate it.
We love it.
Anytime.
And it's quite a segue, because not only are you mentioning it would be best done at district, we just happen to have the Vice Chancellor of Educational Services and Technology with us, who is our 4 o'clock agenda item. So if you folks would welcome Dr. Cherry Lee Budd.
Perfect segue. Well, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. And I totally agree with Mike that it should probably best be done as a district, as far as providing students with district email addresses. And yes, the Technology Consultation Council has been it's on our agenda. We continue to discuss it, and I think sometime soon we will come to a resolution on that particular issue. But I'm here to not necessarily talk about technology this afternoon. I want to talk to you about a project that I'm proposing to do as a district that I'm super excited about. As you could tell, I can't stand still. I'm jumping up and down talking about this project. The main concept behind this project was actually the brainchild of Dr. Ned Dolphiny. And he and I have had quite a few conversations before he retired in terms of the performance of district students at all 3 sites. Our persistence rate is acceptable. Our success rate is not that acceptable. And there's about 10,000 students who drop out annually from our district. So his question to me is, as the new vice chancellor, what do you think we could do about this situation? And I say, well, let's do a district-wide student success project. And he said, what does that look like? Well, there are different components to this particular district-wide student success project. The first component is technology related. It's to create a district-wide business intelligence system. What does that mean? We have all sorts of data points, data sources in the district about our students, from our enterprise system, which is Banner, from our learning management system, which for you is Blackboard, from people have suggested that we should also try to reach down to the high school level and see if we can get students' GPA information from high school. And so what we would do is the district is currently in the process of creating a data warehouse for the researchers to use about our students. And so the business intelligence system would reach out into all of these data sources and based on certain criteria, obviously, and gather those data points and then display them in a system that's graphical, that's easy for everybody, like faculty, to use and comprehend those data points that are in the business intelligence system. But the second piece that not a whole lot of higher education entities have done is to apply a fairly new tool in the industry called the predictive analysis. And what predictive analysis does is look at all those data points and create a profile, so to speak, about projected performance of the students based on criteria, obviously. So business intelligence system, apply predictive analysis, so we have some sense how students are doing. We have a sense of the projected performance of the students early on in the semester, probably during the first 2 weeks of the semester. We would do this, and then we have this data. The unique piece about the project that I'm proposing for North Orange County Community College District is the creation of a student success action desk. And that is my brainchild. I can't give credit to Dr. Dolphiny on this one. My thing is, what's the point of having all this information about our students if we're not going to do anything about that information? So let's do something with that information. So the creation of a student success action desk, I'm proposing to staff that action desk with student workers, with their peers, and then we can craft some intervention strategy to reach out to those students whose projected performance might be in jeopardy in some way. And people have raised a lot of concerns with me on a couple of big things. And there's a lack of details in this particular proposal, and I agree, because this is still primarily at the concept stage, so we haven't flashed out all the details of the project. And there's potentially a big concern about FERPA if we're going to give student workers information about our students, and we're probably going to have a layer of a project director that would be receiving that information, and then give the student workers only those information that's not going to violate FERPA regulations. So those two big concerns, I just want to put it out there that I heard all of these concerns and we will be addressing them. I'm excited about this project because this is really positioning the North Orange County Community College District in the sort of leading edge of the movement of student success and really try to do something unique that has never been done in this country about student success. So that's why I'm super excited about it.
What questions do you have for, everyone should have received the proposal that Brian sent out with all of your agenda items. What questions do you have for Dr. Liebug while she's here?
Any question? Yes.
Conceptually,
Yes.
Do you have an idea of how much this would cost?
Yes, I do. So I'm proposing this particular project to the Strategic Plan Fund for seed money because the majority of the cost is in the first year. And I'm proposing to hire project staff. These are not permanent staff, of a project director. And the district IS department is requesting a IT project lead because the biggest, one of the biggest part of the first year activity is acquiring a student engagement tool that would allow us to use as part of the tool sets for the Student Success Action Desk. And that's about $250,000, the tool itself. So the ongoing maintenance for the tool, it's a estimate. I don't have the exact cost of the tool. And I'm projecting that the ongoing maintenance cost for the tool is about 10%, is about $25,000. And then student workers.
Yearly?
Yes, annually.
So there is a correlation when the economy is booming and everybody's getting a job, they job out. So
Correct.
that would have to be part of that correlation, that business
Absolutely.
thing. Where
Yes.
CTE students job out, it's not necessarily not student success. It's they got a job earlier than they would have in a down economy.
Right, right. No, I got that.
As far as participation, I know in nursing, we have our own system already. We're already doing that within our little
You have
department.
Sort of an early alert system?
Absolutely.
Is that what you have?
We have mentors that are grant funded that we'd love to have institutionally funded.
Okay.
But we're also not on Blackboard, so I don't know. And I know there's a lot of people aren't. We don't use them in our classes. We don't use it. So I don't know, for us to put our grades into your system would be extra work, and I don't know if we're alone on that. But
Well, your grades end up in Banner, right?
the final grades, but
Right.
from what I'm hearing from you, you want to get in the first couple of weeks.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
so how is that going to look for the courses that aren't on Blackboard? Because I know we're not alone.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
our
It would
grades
be a
are on our
challenge
PAR
to
score
get that
system.
piece of the information.
Right, that would involve us doing an extra set of entering the information elsewhere into your system. And I don't know, I don't think we're unique in that we're not on Blackboard. So just putting that out there. And some departments, and I don't know if we're unique about having an early intervention mentor program within our department. We may be, I don't know.
You're probably fairly unique.
No,
Yes.
Actually, many of the CT programs too. I mean, I don't
Early
know. I can't
intervention
speak
mentor
for
program?
many of the health science too.
We have a peer-to-peer mentor
Yeah, because we have
program as well.
peer-to-peer and we have, well, we're
So
actively
this project
involved.
could actually learn what,
You
from
actually
what you're currently
probably
doing.
could, yes.
Yeah. That's why I think there's such a high success rate. in
Right,
CT.
right.
You know, because it really is a lot more one-on-one.
Tina, did you have any additional questions? Because this was one of the items
Oh, I know
that
it
you
was.
commented on at our last meeting, so I want to give you the opportunity to ask any questions.
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay.
I mean, I've made my comments.
Very well. Any other questions?
Or comment?
Yeah.
One of the concerns I have is that this is going to primarily succeed or fail on the backs of the faculty and the input that they put in the system. And there are some faculty who might be a little fearful of, you know, they may not be as good as some of the other faculty, and they're putting forth a lot of students in need, where it's not really about the student now, it's about the faculty member, and they might become real resistant to wanting to put in data because it's going to make them look bad. That's a concern that I think of, you know.
That it's a legitimate concern. What we're trying to address, the way we're trying to address that concern is to not rely exclusively on faculty input. Therefore, the business intelligence system will have tentacles out to all sorts of data sources, not just faculty input. And the faculty input piece, at least at the current stage, is entirely voluntary.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about how the measurement of success will be determined. So if it's pulling from like the student equity and student success, then it's using the scorecard. But in terms of the how we know if we've moved the meter, will that be locally determined? Because the scorecard, you know, goes to 6 years back. So
it would be determined by the project, by having conversation with all of you as to what this district wants to determine as the metric for student success.
So it won't necessarily be specifically focused on a statewide measure or one single measurement. Okay.
No, it's what we determine because this is our project.
Big concern that I have is if you're going to be doing predictive modeling, you want to have a handle on as many of the variables as possible. And the variables from the faculty side, we can be encouraged to provide a lot of those variables. But some of the best predictors are things that educators traditionally have a hard time getting information on. Household demographics, you know, are there family members who have gone through college?
First generation college.
Yeah, and with so many of those variables out there and very difficult to get a handle on, my concern is that this is going to more reflect, well, you're going to have the end result without knowing which variables contributed to that end result. You'll be focusing on faculty contributed variables with having a huge hole in what has been shown through educational research to be major predictors in student success.
Actually, this project is doing exactly what you are saying that we should be doing. It's not designed to rely primarily or exclusively on faculty input, although that's a big piece in terms of the faculty input on student performance. We are reaching out to all of these data sources that contain information about the student, whether they're first in their family to attend college, whether they're having financial issues, whether they're having work issues, whether they're having childcare issues. We're pulling all of this data, not just the grade that they're getting in that first quiz in your class.
So where is that data coming from? Are they self-supplying it?
No, the district has access to a lot of these data sources. And so the business intelligence system will allow us to then have the system go out and reach into these data sources and pull that information. So it's not more of an automatic process. It's not a manual process.
Any other questions for Dr. Viva?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, it's not clear to me, once a student, however this comes about, once a student is identified as, you know, we've profiled that student to, we think they're going to have trouble, what happens? I mean, because we can barely get them to come in for office hours.
Right.
So what I'm trying to figure out is how another layer that's even further removed from a student's perspective, further removed from the classroom, I'm wondering how a student is going to benefit from this and not feel singled out and, oh my God, they're already telling me I'm going to fail.
So the way that we're going to, because we are not positioning this to be an exclusively early alert system, we're not going to put this project on the backs of faculty. We intentionally are not going to try to add to your workload. So what the Student Success Action Desk staffers will do is to use that student engagement tool that we will be purchasing and reach out to students via text via chat, and they could reach out to the student and say, we noticed that you might be having some issues in that arena. Would you like to come in and chat with somebody? Would you like me to make an appointment? Or the students could talk to them and say, we noticed that such and such a thing might be happening with your life. You know, I myself had this issue in the previous semester, and this is what I did to overcome that particular situation. Would you like to talk to me some more about it? That's the kind of intervention that we have in mind in terms of this particular project.
Have you like actually discussed this at all with students? Like, I'm wondering if I'm a student and somebody reaches out to me that I don't know, kind of going, well, we see that you're having trouble. I think I'm going to feel invaded. I'm not a student, and I would really like to hear from students what they might feel about that, because it's one thing when I have a student in my class, I see that they failed a quiz. Now I pull them in and I can say, hey, I see you're struggling here. They know I know their grade because I'm supposed to know their grade. So I'm concerned. I'm almost nervous for the students just hearing this.
And you could be right. And we should definitely be talking to the students.
She is right. She is right. Because they even with us communicate. Excuse me, I'm out of turn.
I was gonna go to Joel, but you got the floor.
I'm sorry. Because even when we have these, it's difficult to have these conversations on a one-on-one or even encountering students on a daily basis. They, like I said, I would feel if you call me and talk about you think I'm having problems, I would be offended at you calling me and asking me that. I'm like, I don't want you to know that. You know, I want to have the opportunity to come to my teacher or have other avenues for me to reach out. You know, they have like, and I'm like, don't we already have something like this already somewhere, or something that we really need a whole separate new project? What do we do?
That's a question that has been raised, is whether or not it would be duplicative of other processes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, one of the most important course management tools is developing rapport with students, teacher-student rapport. And if we have students and they feel there's a computer watching over them, I see that's going to destroy the student-teacher rapport right there. So it's a huge concern.
Mark? So the student engagement piece, one of the, I totally heard what you're saying. One of the things that, there's a lot of research on student success, and peer mentoring, for their peers to reach out to them is actually a proven strategy for increasing student success. And so that's why we try to incorporate that particular idea into this project. And at the strategic conversation that happened 2-3 weeks ago at Cypress College, one of the things that there were quite a few students in attendance at the strategic conversation, and all of them said that one of the things that made them stay in school and be successful is the sense that somebody, just one person at the college, took an interest in them. And it could be a staffer, it could be a faculty member, it could be a fellow student. Somebody reached out and said to the student, I know you are here and you're struggling, and I'm here to help you. That's all it took. So, and that's the other kind of idea behind this project as well.
Just quickly, I mean, Chair, I'm in favor of the principle of having data to determine. The question will be, when you collect the data, does it create a context that is meaningful and productive that we can be operable with? And does the data actually collect in such a way that we believe that on the basis of the data, there's something that we can do that operationally that would be effective in intervention terms? That's yet to be determined. I'm not sure that but collecting data can be valuable. The question of how to then intervene or assist the student, that again is an unknown variable. One last that would have to be determined. There is an expense involved, and there's several unknown variables. But that is good. Last thing is that if the variables that we believe or might believe are affecting their success at this point, or their lack of success, some of those variables, of course, will be interesting because hypothetically, They may be beyond our control, that there's actually nothing that we effectively can do to change perhaps a socioeconomic context that makes it impossible for them to engage on the level that we would like them to. We might be able to provide financial aid. There might be limitations of that, restrictions relative to financial aid, and the awarding of financial aid. So I suppose that would be valuable, correct? Because we go like, okay, this, now that we've really collected this data and assessed this, now we know the limitations of what we can effectively do and what we can do. So I guess that, in effect, would be of worth, of value. But there is an expense involved to do this. And whether the data that we're collecting we can contextualize in some way that actually is meaningful to us operably. You know, and that may also, as I said, finally in the final analysis, we may come down to that subset of that 10,000 where we say, this is beyond our ability to do anything, at least at this point, operably to change the student's life because we don't have the resources right now to do that. And maybe then we have to go out for those resources. But having a close, finally, a student who works as a social worker, I know that they come to some very specific conclusions and boundaries that to maintain their sanity about what they can do for a particular client and what they can't. And that is valuable to them in terms of sustaining their involvement with those clients and determining how to allocate their resources to help them. That's part of that process of objectifying what can be done versus what cannot be done.
I just want to bring everyone's attention. We, on the agenda, allocated 15 minutes. We are now almost 10 minutes over. We said we were going to provide feedback. Just a couple more pieces of feedback information. Renee?
I just have a question. What districts are currently using this? Any other districts?
No.
This is a new project. Oh, it's just a new project?
Yeah, we would be first in the world.
Oh, okay.
Tack.
I think ultimately, if I'm hearing things correctly, the issue probably won't get all resolved until we look at the actual integration of all of these points. I think what we're hearing right now, and it's understandable, is this piece, this piece, this piece, and this piece. But it's the integration of all of those at the end that becomes critical. For example, if you're talking about peer mentoring, talking to students, that probably has a lot of benefits. But it doesn't operate in isolation from the instructor. I agree totally. If a student got a call from another student out of the blue saying this, I'd be very offended. But if you have this system and the instructor talks to the student and say, maybe you want to work with people on a peer basis, that would have potentially a very different reaction. So we're talking about things right now in isolation, but we've always got to be looking at how do you integrate all of these parts before we really say this is the system that we have.
Excellent point, Pat.
Gary?
The Human Services Department has students that would be perfect as peer mentors. And we also have fieldwork classes where they could actually earn units for participation in this program.
Any other feedback that we'd like to give Dr. Liebug before we move on to our next agenda item? Very good. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Those, believe it or not, came right at President's report, so that's where I'm going to pick up from. PBC has met today with architect interviews, and there will be more of them next week, and there'll probably be another one the week
We
after.
had two fabulous interviews today. I got to tell you, I was blown away by both presentations, and I'm looking real forward to the next. We have 3 more.
Fantastic. PAC, at the last meeting, Dr. Simpson gave me some direction to give to Mark, which is what he reported on regarding the baccalaureate degree subcommittee that will be working this summer. What Dr. Simpson would like is for us, via the subcommittee put together by our curriculum committee and members of the Academic Senate, to look at graduation requirements for the baccalaureate degree. That would include whether or not we want any local grad requirements like global citizenship, cultural diversity, a proficiency of any type. We have to look at those. And then, of course, what our upper division requirements are going to be. That will happen over summer, and then the proposal will come back to Senate in the fall for our discussion. The Board of Trustees has not met since our last Academic Senate meeting. They meet on Tuesday night, the 14th of April, and I will not be able to attend, so I'm wondering if maybe I might be able to reach out to someone here on Senate to attend in my absence the Board of Trustees meeting on Tuesday evening. Fantastic. Brian is good to go. In terms of appointing representatives to the following committee, I still don't have anyone for numbers 1 and 2. The Educational Master Plan Task Force, the call has gone out, and in the call it said the appointments would be made at the first meeting in May, so I'm going to hold out for that one. I still need to send the call out for graduation readers for commencement because I have a couple other things that we really need to get to for graduation, and that's the faculty awards. And Ron brought it up, and I told him I was going to address it under the president's report. I had initially mentioned it on spring opening day. Then I sent it out to all of our senators. But if you took a look at the process, we are, well, far behind. The timeline, we should have selected our recipients last week. Oh boy. And we were supposed to be making the announcement this week. That has not happened, so I'm going to suggest that because this falls on, oh, by the way, did everyone notice that Gary Zager is back? Did everyone welcome him back? Because this is his job. And you notice that it said fill his inbox by April 9th with all of the nominees. So I'm sure your inbox was overflowing with nominees. Gasp! Folks, we need to get these selected so the names can be turned in and they can be printed in the program and the awards can be engraved. How do we want to do this?
I haven't looked at this once, it's only the first week back, I haven't looked at it once, it's paying attention to my classes.
I am going to ask the Senate that, as senators, that you go out and seek nominations, please.
Again?
Yeah, again. For the Charger Award and the Outstanding Full-Time and Adjunct Faculty Awards so that you could forward those nominees so that they can be selected at our next Senate meeting.
Forward them to Gary, right?
Yeah, forward them to Gary. That's what the applications say. In fact, the applications say return nomination form to Gary Zager by April 9th, 2015. And it has said that since, well, January when I mentioned it at opening day ceremonies.
The Charger Award is for efforts outside the classroom. And either within the field or within outside their classes, but on the campus or in the community.
Jane?
Okay, I know that you told me last time, and I'm sorry, but is there a place we can go get the application if we can't find it in our email? Because I looked, and I don't have it.
It's also on the J Drive under the Academic Senate folder.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That I can do.
I thought we talked last
Channel
meeting
Senate.
about
Thank you.
resubmitting what we had the previous year.
We can do that.
Okay.
In fact, that's what it says here. Names of nominated faculty who do not win the awards in a given academic year would automatically be considered again for the next 2 subsequent years. The original nominator must be asked to confirm their continued support of the nomination in subsequent years.
So I can just email Gary and tell him.
I still support.
Still
Yeah.
support. Got it.
And I'm assuming that you still have the nominations from last year.
Yes, in a big pile.
Fantastic.
And I'm sorry, so if Lynn, what Lynn was saying, then that, you don't need the new form for that. It's just reference the old form. I'm still okay with that.
I am assuming so.
So we need to select those at the next meeting.
With fear I say that.
With fear he says that. Forward new applications, or if you have the same one you gave him last time, forward them.
I'm sure I do.
That would be very good. So that will end up on the next Senate meeting. We have to select those awards. At the same time, the, oh my goodness, the wonderful, wonderful, wonderful queen of after parties, Cherie Dickey has offered up her home once again for the after party after commencement. We don't have to go that way, but she did volunteer, and it is very, very close to campus. The one thing that we would need to do at our next Senate meeting and the meeting after that is send around a collection so that we would be able to have some refreshments while we're there, food, and then, of course, we bring our libations at leisure.
Madam President?
Yes, sir.
I move that we accept Cherie's generous offer.
Oh,
Second.
fantastic. All those in favor, I'm not even going to discussion, can you tell? All those in favor of using Cherie?
Aye.
Any opposed? Fantastic. She'll be so happy to know.
Using Cherie for her house.
Yes, yes. Using Cherie.
Just wanted to add, when Jelaine is talking about taking up a collection, what we have typically done the last few years is use our culinary arts program. They've been great. They do a wonderful job of it. They bring things over. It's all taken care of, etc. And they have been remarkably low in their prices. I know the first couple of years that we did it, I just paid for it because it didn't really cost that much. So, I mean, I'm not talking about everybody putting in
And
a ton of
Cherie has
money.
said that she's going to contact them about that. So,
Yeah. So that, I think, is the best way to proceed, really.
And since I am talking about taking money out of your pocket, this is something that Pat has brought up multiple times over several years. The monetary awards that go with our awards that we select. There is a little bit of money. It will not continue. Last year we reduced down what the awards would be so that we would be able to fund this year as well. But at some point in time, folks, we're going to have to find a funding mechanism. We did take it to planning and budget. We cannot allocate campus resources for monetary awards to faculty members. So we've got to find another funding source.
What about the foundation though?
We did have foundation support previously, not 100%, but they also contributed.
Can this be a sponsored award?
I believe anyone who would like to
So it could
sponsor
be
it.
like the Microsoft award for.
Yes.
Okay, so if we got funding in that regard.
Absolutely, that'd be fantastic. I would like to see something sustainable.
A paper company, a copier company, a mailbox company, I don't know if anybody knows
Yeah,
about that
somebody
stuff.
might have-
UPS is really interested in this.
Yes, fantastic. I love how that works. Ron?
The credit union often buys a lot of Americana awards. They buy 2 tables, so they might be interested in.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, reaching out to schools
Is
first.
very accommodating.
Excellent. We should reach out to that.
How much money are we talking about?
Well, historically, wasn't it 1,000 and then 500, 500?
Well, the way it was originally was, I mean, at first it was just $1,000, and that was actually donated by a family. And then the foundation picked it up, and that was for the outstanding faculty member.
Full-time?
Full-time, we had only that. Then we added and it was called the Faculty Development Award, but which really was misnamed, so we changed that to the Charger Award. That was for outside of the classroom kinds of things. And that one was originally funded at $500. Then we added the adjunct. And at first the adjunct didn't have any funding, but then we added the $500 to that. But none of that was coming from the foundation. The foundation continued the 1,000 originally. Then we had a year where one person was selected by the 2 subcommittees to win both the Outstanding Faculty Award and the Charger. And it seemed kind of, if you give this person this award, they get 1,000. You give them this one, they only get 500. That didn't seem real fair. So we upped both of those to the $1,000 level, but the adjunct was still left at the 500. But again, it was really only the 1,000 for the outstanding faculty that was being paid for by the foundation.
Do you know if the foundation still supports that?
I have no idea, but I can find out.
Okay. Gary, last year weren't all 3 of them at 500 for a total of 1,500?
Correct.
Okay.
So,
But I love the idea of trying to increase it to 1,000 each for 3,000. I think that'd be so special, especially, to give the adjunct the least amount who gets paid the least seems sort of an insult. I would think that we would go and make all 3 the same if we could.
Okay.
is that good?
Okay. So we've got to do faculty awards at the next meeting.
Could it come out of triple SP money or student equity money? Because I think that they have a lot of latitude in how they could spend the money.
Okay.
If the other sources aren't possible. But
I
student equity, I know,
remember
has a lot of
reading
money.
that you cannot give cash, direct payments of cash to students, so I wonder if that still applies to faculty.
With awards, I don't know.
Yeah.
But just a thought.
Yeah, all sources of funding.
They need to spend it.
Yeah,
Student
triple
equity
SP funding.
And also the triple S.
What about our food service provider on campus too?
Maybe.
they're the ones going and taking the most money from our students on campus. Maybe they get a little bit back to some of the professionals.
We have to find sources of funds for these, but first, we need to find nominees.
The person's going to have to wear a shirt with all sorts of advertising.
It's the NASCAR.
They get a check and a shirt.
All right.
Jolene, as long as we're talking about awards, I would just like a clarification because I was kind of surprised last time on the outstanding teacher one. When did the system change? Because that one used to be forwarded by the associated students. A member of the Senate sat on the committee that made the decision, but it was an Associated Students' choice on the Orange County Teacher of the Year one.
I don't know. I received the email from Melissa Utsuki from the district that said it was Cypress's turn to forward the Orange County Teacher of the Year nominee. And I said, it's a very short timeline. I know Senate won't have an opportunity to go through its regular process, which I did not know what the regular process was. And I said, well, we could always forego our rotation on nominee. And she said, no, what has happened historically at Fullerton and SCE is they have just taken one of their award recipients from the previous and forward them through. So I don't know what our typical process was, but I can tell you because we had such a short turnaround, it was, it was the best that we could do to make sure we put through our nomination.
It was in the past ASB.
Okay. So
With
then
the fact-
Melissa
with the-
should have contacted
With a
AS.
faculty member involved in that.
Sat on the committee, but
Yeah,
it was
in the
run
committee.
by the students, and I think that was the
Right.
case when you were selected.
Yeah, that's how I got targeted.
And that's where they were the ones who did the big to-do that Gary kind of copied for our own awards 2 years ago. But prior to that, it was only the student one where they brought in the balloons and all of that, but it was run by the students.
Okay.
Yesterday.
So I should tell Melissa to contact Associated Students?
Well, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if the committee, the Orange County committee that deals with it changed regulations on that. I just know that in the past,
I don't
it
know.
was,
ASB driven.
it was not faculty selected.
Okay.
I think we've already forwarded Professor Floyd's name.
We had to, the deadline
Yeah.
for submission was
And I'm not
Tuesday.
talking about changing that, but
No,
I
I
think it's just, what is the system now?
Yeah.
And I was so startled last time, I didn't even think on
2
raising
years from now, we have to figure it out.
I think now would be a good time to figure it out so we
Yeah.
could be in the process and ready to go. Probably so.
Raul said the foundation is supporting the $1,000 for outstanding faculty.
Okay.
This is what it is, I think you come up with $2,000, then we get
Yeah.
2,000.
Yep. Oh, good. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate that. I'm trying to think if there's
That
anything
means
else.
you were texting during our message.
was.
Shame on you.
Well, then there's just.
I just remembered.
None respect.
Then there's just one other thing that I want to bring up during the president's report, and we'll move on to the rest of the agenda items. On Monday, April 20th, we have coffee with the chancellor and trustees here in this room from 3 to 4. You may have seen this. It came out in our inbox. It's called Meet and Munch. I don't necessarily know.
Can we just lunch and not meet them?
Yeah. Meet and Munch. 3 to 4, April 20th. That's a Monday in the complex. Yes. We have an interim chancellor.
interim, okay,
Yes.
interim, okay.
Yeah.
Who's interim?
Fred Williams.
Got it. Okay.
So there is now on to faculty issues, unfinished business. There is one thing on this list that has to be done today because spring plenary is going on right now and my flight leaves in about 2.5 hours. Can I go?
Yeah.
No.
Cool. I appreciate that. Because I'm going whether or not you said yes. It's just whether or not you're going to fund me to go.
I move that we go and approve funding for your plenary fees, your hotel, and
Yes.
your airfare.
And I second.
All right. I'm not going to ask for any discussion because I've already paid all this. So,
You're like my dog.
yeah, it would be nice if I could get a little bit of funding back. But can I ask, is anyone else interested in going? Okay. Can I tell you, please? put it on your radar for the fall. It will be in Irvine.
I can do fall.
It is not on the Thursday that Senate meets. It's actually going to be the first Thursday. It goes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and I would really love for as many of you that want to go, and I will do a special funding request to PBC if need be to make sure that all 25 of us have an appearance there, because there is nothing like serpentine voting on a Saturday morning that really gets your blood going. So I would love for, as many people as possible to go. But there is a motion on the floor that says I can have some money. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Now moving on to distance ed coordinator position. I have no report. Staff development coordinator position. We really need to look at this. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we actually accept the name change from staff development to professional development.
Fantastic. That's
Second.
That's a great way to start. There is a motion on the floor to accept the change from staff development to professional development. Mr. Maker of the motion, you have the right of first debate.
It really doesn't have anything to do with changing our, who's going to be doing it or not. It is just in keeping with everything that is taking place at the state level. I actually would rather have it be called that because I'm considered a professional rather than staff. So it actually seems like it's actually kind of a step up for us. And it's just going to, I keep, when I'm making these things up, want to write professional development. I keep having to go back and put it into staff, so I just like to be able to write professional development.
Is there anyone that would like to speak against the motion to change the name from staff to professional development? Oh, fantastic. Seeing no one else desirous of debate, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Now, since we're already looking at the name change, what about the rest of the proposed changes to the staff professional development coordinator job description? It was sent out to you previously. There are several strike-throughs on what is being deleted and several underlines for what is being added.
Do you want to address that?
Would you like to speak to it?
Only to say that we've just added things as we've gone to meetings and been assigned different tasks. So I think that's all I want to say, just based on what we've been doing.
Well, then may I have a motion to accept the proposed changes to the professional development coordinator job description?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Fantastic. Would anyone like to speak against the proposed revisions to the professional development coordinator job description? Ooh, fantastic. Then all those in favor of making the proposed changes to the professional development coordinator job description say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Ooh, fantastic. The motion passes. Then I will ask for you to take a look at the professional development coordinator selection process, and I will entertain a motion to accept the proposed selection process. We did this one. Thank you. And a second?
Second.
Thanks. Since I'm the one, and I appreciate the motion on the floor, and I would normally defer to the maker of the motion, but since I'm the one that put this draft together, yes, that one. If you haven't seen it, this is what it provides for. It says, the call for full-time faculty interested in serving as the professional development coordinator will be made by the Academic Senate President as soon as a vacancy or resignation is announced. In the event the resignation is in the middle of the semester, an appointment may be made by the college president in consultation with the Academic Senate President so that continuity of professional development programming is assured. In the event of a midterm vacancy, the college president may enter into a professional expert contract in place of the 60% reassigned time afforded the position. Once the call has been made, and this was where there was issues in the fall, the Academic Senate President will receive and collate all letters of interest and assemble the selection committee. We didn't previously have a selection committee. It was just the President and the Academic Senate President. The selection committee will be comprised of the Academic Senate President, college president or their designee, and 3 members of the Professional Development Committee, which was already approved by the Professional Development Committee. They would be more than happy to give us those 3 members. Each one from the Professional Development Committee would represent a different constituency group. So since it's a shared governance committee and they have classified staff, administration, full-time faculty, part-time faculty, and associated students, they would pick one from each of the different groups so that we wouldn't have all 3 of them full-time faculty, all 3 of them classified. Once the selection committee has been assembled, interested faculty will be interviewed and 1 candidate would be offered the position. Preference for selection would include previous service on the staff development committee, but it would not be a requirement for appointment. In the event that 2 faculty members, very similar to what Peggy and Mary are doing now, are interested in sharing the responsibilities, those 2 candidates could be appointed and could share the 60% reassigned time. In the event that an acceptable faculty member cannot be appointed, and that's what led to the appointment of Peggy and Mary right now, the college president, in consultation with the academic senate president and the professional development committee, may appoint a person under a professional expert contract to serve a term of 1 year. And then another call would be sent out to full-time faculty at the end of that year. And if this process is approved by us, that's exactly what I would be doing, is sending out another call for an interested faculty member to serve as our professional development coordinator with the new professional development coordinator job description. So let me ask, is there anyone that would like to speak in favor of the motion? I'll go to the maker of the motion.
Well, in favor and opposed on it. And I'm not sure that I'm opposed in a broad sense. And I unfortunately don't have it right in front of me. But as I was listening to you reading that, I think there's a part that is missing, because this just talks about how do we do it in case of a resignation, etc. We are still, I assume, going with a 3-year term on this, which means you would have to be doing it regardless of whether there's an announced resignation or withdrawal or what have you from it. So I think it needs to be rewritten to include the standard procedure would be 3 years, and we would do it this way, etc. In the event of an early resignation, etc., then you're still doing the same thing, but I think you need to refer both, because the way it's written right now, it sounds like you appoint somebody and they're there forever unless they resign, and that's clearly not what the intent is. So I think it just needs a tweaking.
I was chewing on ice. What the statement is, it says the call for full-time faculty interested in serving as the professional development coordinator will be made by the academic senate president as soon as a vacancy or resignation is announced. So the vacancy could be the staff development or the professional development coordinator being done with their 3-year period of time.
I think what you're also saying, though, Pat, right, is that if that takes place 2 years in, it's to fill out that term.
Right.
It's not in perpetuity.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
right. So just that tweaking of that language.
Okay.
I think, like I say, it's not an opposition, but I think it just needs to be written that what the normal process is, and then if there's a vacancy prior to that, you still do the same thing, but I think you need to still have this sense that it's a 3-year term that people are dealing with. But at the end of, or toward the end of that term, the semester before the term ends, you begin this process, or something like that.
Okay. I'm looking at what we currently have in terms of how it's structured. This came off of the J Drive, and it talks about the 3-year period of time. So is there a suggestion for an amendment in particular that I could write into this process?
Well, I don't have it right in front of me, but I would suggest an amendment to the effect of indicating that in the normal course of events, it's a 3-year term, and the process for replacement should begin the semester prior to the end of the term. And then you kick in the other part in case of resignation, vacancy, etc. Then you go to it. And they're I would suggest that they are mirror of one another, but that you do indicate that there are 2 things going on.
Okay. So there would be a notation, and I would appreciate anyone. Huh? Probably so. I'll have to do I've got to go and do a find and replace for the 3-year preceding semester.
Can I offer an amendment to my own motion here?
Sure.
That this motion be adopted dependent upon Jolena reworking it with the approval of a couple of other members.
Second.
And then it's just a cleanup that we're talking about here, I think.
Thank
Second.
you.
I didn't mean to jump on you, but second.
Appreciate that motion. Is there any?
Wordsmith it here.
Thank you. Is there anyone that would be opposed to, say, the executive committee of the Senate adopting additional language that refers to the 3-year term and the process for replacement beginning the preceding semester of an expiring term?
Jolena, I don't have an issue with that, but one thing that isn't clear, it says once the call has been made and once the selection committee has been, but it doesn't say when that call is going to go out. So for example, if there's a vacancy midterm, it says the president can make the selection. Does a call go out then? It doesn't say
Okay. So
when that call goes out.
in the event of a midterm vacancy, that would be the middle of a 1-year contract on that 60% reassigned time. The college president can enter into the professional expert contract to finish out the rest of that year.
With no call.
Right, without any call. And then we would make the call for someone to finish out the 3-year term of a preceding
That needs
chair.
Well, actually,
Okay.
you should really start them on a new 3-year term.
Okay.
Right.
So that needs to be clarified.
Okay, so shall I bring this back again then to Senate? Because that now has 2 different components to it. Although everyone seems okay with us wordsmithing the first part, we're gonna have to wordsmith a whole bunch more on the rest of that. So with the motion currently on the floor is actually the amendment that would allow me to wordsmith this. I'm going to ask that we vote it down, and then I'll bring back the entire proposal next time so that everyone will have a chance to see it. But all those in favor of the amendment only that would allow me to wordsmith it with the executive committee to add the 3-year term and process for replacement?
Actually, then let's just move to table.
Okay, so let's move to postpone to the next meeting.
Second.
It's not debatable. But I do need a majority on this. So all those in favor of postponing this to the next meeting?
You can debate whether it's okay to put it off. You can't debate the merits of the issue.
Fantastic. I want to get everyone out of here on
I got
time.
you.
Anyone opposed to postponing this to the next meeting? Okay. Any abstentions on that? Very well then. At least we did make some progress on getting a new job description for the staff development coordinator. Now for the staff development administrative
Professional
assistant.
development.
Professional development administrative assistant 2 position. Peggy, would you like to address this at all?
Well, you received the email. You see the proposal. I don't think there's anything more to say.
Okay. I will entertain a motion in support of the admin 2 position for professional development. Is there a motion of support?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Fantastic. I will let you speak to it first.
This, as I understand it, this is simply reinstating something that had been cut because of all the problems with the recession and whatnot. Is that correct?
Yes, but I don't know that technically the administration sees it as a reinstatement. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So I'm assuming that it would be going into the pool of
We should just run with that
discussion of
narrative.
classified. Yeah.
We should just run with that narrative and see
I'm
what
pretty
this is.
sure they don't see it as a reinstatement.
And it also, I mean, just in that regard, we have talked in here extensively about how a lot of these distance ed and professional development, it's a staffing thing. We need these assistants to help do that job.
Yes. Can't be done
Is there
without it.
anyone that would want to speak in opposition to the admin 2 position? Okay. I don't see anyone in opposition, so therefore I will ask all those in favor of supporting this position, be it a reinstatement or a new position, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ooh, any abstentions? 1 abstention. Kathleen. Very good. Thank you so much. The next item D, committee to revise bylaws.
I have them. I don't know if you got them or if you remember them.
Should I be getting these emails?
I actually, if I was going to speak to you beforehand, I need to get your email address because I'm sending out to all users and you're not in there. So absolutely, please let me have that. If you have not gotten them, do you have them? Because this is actually a second reading on these. And if you don't have them, I can send them out again, that's fine. We can continue to put this off. But we did make some of the changes that were done from last time. I know that Pat had mentioned that we had actually stricken some committees from that shouldn't have been stricken. They've been put back in. And I'm perfectly okay if you have not looked at these because it's been such a long time since we had the first reading, that if you're not comfortable with it or comfortable that we've made the changes, I'm certainly okay with postponing that, but I would put a contingency upon that, and that is that if we do postpone that, it goes with a message to, a motion to adjourn.
Oh, well said.
These were just the cleanup sessions.
Yeah, these are the cleanups that we've done. So, I mean, if there are people. Absolutely, yeah, and I just couldn't get I didn't have the, so if I'm printing it out. So I do understand if there are people who have reservations about this because we have not looked at this in a while. I'm okay with having you look at it again.
I actually would, because,
Okay.
I mean, some of those were cleanup things, but we never really discussed any of the others.
I
Those
agree.
were ones that jumped out at me, and I would like everybody to take a good look, because even then, we didn't give much time to
I agree with that, and the only thing that I do have is that there were other parts that were supposed to be with that because we needed to put in some guideline for ballot elections. And so I'm going to pass that around with you to look at as well. It is not at all something that we need to vote on. We can't at all. This would be just, I'll not even say it's a first reading if you don't want. I just want you to have it so you can see what we're doing with it. And it should be self-explanatory, but if there are some things that need to be changed, we can also change those. And we can pick up both of those at the next meeting. I think would be a good idea, as for the reasons that Pat has mentioned.
So that means that I'm.
So I move to
adjourn?
Well, I move to set this aside until the next meeting.
Okay, the motion to postpone, is there a second? All those in favor of postponing this item to the next meeting? Aye. Any opposed to postponing? Any abstentions?
I move to adjourn.
Is there a second? Yes.
One moment. Normally, before we select the faculty awards, we come earlier. Could you remind us that we should?
Well, that's the problem with the next Senate meeting, is that we have at least 3, if not 4 members of the sitting Senate that are already obligated to the architect interviews. It would actually have to take place during the Senate meeting, because otherwise they would be cutting out on the architect interviews. So,
In that same context, we had a very different procedure in the past where division senators selected one, did the preliminary work on that, the at-large selected another. The recommendation was made to the full Senate, but are we talking about everybody looking at both, or are we talking about dividing it in some other mechanism? I think that becomes a critical part of how we approach this.
I do agree.
Yeah, we have to change that because we changed the way we do that, yeah, absolutely. Maybe we should all weigh in on it, I don't know.
I don't care which way, but I think we should make a decision as to how we want to approach it. It does, if everybody is looking at all of them, it certainly is going to take more time as opposed to splitting up, and then we kind of defer to the group that looked at it, but the people did have an opportunity to weigh in, but it does double your time.
Well, I want to be respectful to the students. While we do that deliberation, I would suggest that we not be videotaped during that deliberation.
So maybe we should entertain a motion to start our next Senate meeting at 3:30 to allow, well, you guys came in a half hour late today, so I can't.
They did make, we could have left conceivably with that. We just chose because of the way it was to stay there, but I think Karen would accommodate
They
that.
got cookies.
The cookies delayed the process.
Okay, so could we begin our Senate meeting at 3:30 at the next meeting, and then take the first half hour from 3 to 3:30 to do the, right. So I'll entertain a motion to that effect, that we change the meeting time of our next Senate meeting for Senate business only to 3:30 to 5, and use the first half hour from 3 to 3:30 for a selection of faculty awards without broadcasting.
So moved.
Is there a second? Very well. Is there anyone that would be opposed to starting the meeting, business meeting, agenda items at 3:30? Okay. All those in favor then?
Aye. Good question.
Yes.
Since it's clandestine, can we have it on the basement floor and dim the lights?
You know it.
We're all going to wear shrouds.
Yes. And like we can have like a chant we do before it starts.
Yes.
All right.
We need a
I'm on it. I'll write it.
We need a password. Very good. And at that time, we'll decide how we're going to divide up the applications to be reviewed and then forwarded to the full Senate.
I move to adjourn.
So be it. Second time. Folks, go enjoy. I'm going to plenary. Anyone want to go to the Seeing none, then we will move on to faculty announcements, and I'm going to pass this around. Our esteemed colleague to my left, Dr. Goralski, is doing Perspectives in Forensic Archaeology from the Unidentified Persons Project. That presentation will take place on Thursday, April 30th from 2 to 3. Do you want to tell them anything more about it?
I've just been part of this project for the last few years. Individuals that could not be identified using forensic science at the time go into the ground as John Doe or Jane Doe. And we have individuals in San Bernardino County who are John or Jane Doe dating back to 100 years ago. We exhume those individuals and do modern forensic techniques, including tissue and bone sampling for DNA analysis in an attempt to identify those individuals. And so what I'll be doing over the course of the lecture is talking about what forensic archaeologists do, my involvement in the project, and some of the things that we found out as a result of the work we've been doing. So talk's going to be about 45 minutes. I'll leave some time for questions. It'll be mostly focusing on this project, but I also work on murder cases, mass casualty events, and things like that. I'll throw some of that stuff in as well. But it's a talk that I'm giving a shorter version at the Society for American Archaeology meetings, and so I'm just expanding it. It's going to be pretty interesting. I would like for as many people to come as possible. Thanks.
All right. Any other faculty announcements? Keith?
Reminds me, our colleague Peter Matthews on the 21st, same location, same time, but it's Tuesday, April 21st, so a little bit ahead of this. He's doing a talk on his book, which relates to money and politics, which should be real good. I think it's officially 2 to 3:30. Humanities 131 on Tuesday, April 21st.
Any other faculty announcements? Hold on. We had public commentary, I'm sorry. Any other faculty announcements? No more? Okay, then moving on to special reports, associated students.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. I have several things to announce. Yesterday, we were able to have what's called a Women's Recognition Tea, recognizing different faculty members. I'd like to print out the actual list. I just remember Coach Margaret Moore won Most Inspirational, and our Woman of the Year was Miss Becky Rojas, which is special to us and the Associated Students Student Activity Center that works with us. We were able to recognize even honorary members, honorary candidates. This was the students voted, and we sent out the email for everyone to vote, and I was looking for several of you all to be there. What happened? No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, I love you all. But anyway,
There was no reminders, though.
Yes, I don't know.
There was none.
I'm so sorry. But also, you have until Friday, the deadline for to donate your clothes. There's still a box outside, at least in the Student Activity Center. So if you cleaned out your closets and your garages on spring break, you should have plenty of clothing to share. That deadline is on this coming Friday. I think it's 12 noon. Also, I don't know if you all got emails that AS, the Associated Students, gives out scholarships. Did you all get that email? Yeah. Let your students know the deadline for that is also this Friday. They still have until tomorrow by 5 p.m. Please make sure to get them in because we really want to, show our support to them, thank the students, and bless them real good. Also, you have an opportunity to connect with the campus and with the clubs on several events. Tomorrow is World Fest. Remember I said we're going to have food from Italy, Israel, the Philippines, Mexico, Jamaican food, Palestine, and Japanese food so far. That's what I know. Come by and get your samples. They're going to be out there at the pond, and make sure you get your sample. Tell them Tanya sent you so they don't hold you back. That's tomorrow on the pond, so you know what's going on. And also next Wednesday is Sex Day. We celebrate love and the sex acceptance and diversity and education and health. Okay, that's again at the pond. That's Wednesday, April 22nd from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's sponsored by the Diversity Committee. Y'all, yes, ma'am. Thank you. This is Women's Awareness Month as well as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So these are the activities that are going in regards to them. On the 30th, which is a Thursday, they're having a flashlight visual from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. We try to get as many flyers out and leastwise email you of all these things that are going on. And as much as you can, please come and participate. I just love to see you there. On April 23rd, we're having our 16th annual Cypress College Parent Night from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It's a college fair and a presentation in the Fine Arts Theater. It's hosted by Cypress College academic counselors. So we want you to be there. So it'll be overviews of admission, assessment, orientation, registration, financial aid, programs offering the deadlines and key dates. All that's offered on Parent Night. Our Human Services Club. You know, I chair the Interclub Council. They were the ones that are doing the clothing. They're also participating in the sexual awareness events, and they're having they're going to do a Surfrider Beach cleanup on Saturday, April 11th. They're participating in the Ronald McDonald House, the OC Ronald McDonald's House, because the our CCVO is participating in the one I think is in Santa Monica, the LA branch. They have 3 different branches, but that's on Sunday, April 12th, where they participate in the Ronald McDonald House. And that what I mentioned about the close is the DoSomething.org comeback close, and that ends this Friday at noon. One last thing, I don't know how they reached out to us, but they're building a new playground that's coming to Twyla Reed, and they reached out to us for volunteers. They have prep days Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, April 29th through May 1st from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. And then they're having a build and ribbon cutting day Saturday, May 2nd from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And we're talking Disneyland and City of Anaheim. The Y is called Kaboom. They're sponsoring this, and they're going to build like a park in one day. And they reached out to us, and so we were able to get some participants, and the clubs are going to do that as far as voluntary work as well. So we're connecting. We said, what's my thing? I'm having y'all say the adventure together. Connectivity.
Yes, ma'am.
Increases positivity and dismisses negativity. Connection with your peers, faculty and staff, and your campus leads to student success. Y'all have a great day.
Tanya, thank you so much. Would you like to connect with your peer in the back and see what she wanted to address?
She was asking because she's aware of the event that you were participating in now.
I want to talk about Peter Murphy Professor Fight for the Education Right.
What time is it?
Oh, Tuesday at March 26th at the Cypress, April 21 from 2 until 3:30 in Lecture Hall 131.
Yes.
And at Cypress College.
Yes,
and Peter Murphy, he fight for all of your education right and fight for the professor, the job right includes the job. I think he will run for the government position at the CA governor, and he said he will make the rule say spend more money on the education. Be sure all the professors have the job and have enough money to pay for your salary. Fight for your job and fight for students' right. Lower the tuition and close the loophole for the rich people, the corporation. The rich people, they are so rich. Why the government still want to pay so much money to help them, and they then pay so little tax? They should pay more tax, the rich people and the corporation. So please come to join his speech and invite all your friends and the students. Okay? Thank you, everyone.
You know, in faculty, what update do you have for us?
We had our elections, and you're looking at your president. Those of you who did not vote for me, I hope that you will come, and I do include everyone. I mean, I want to hear from everyone, their problems and stuff, because we're in this together, you know, in everything we do. Dana Clayhane was also voted vice president. We have now, we created a structure just like we did here in the Senate. So we now have representative council, and Dale Craig became our site representative for Fullerton. We have site representatives over, and we rotate. I mean, the positions open, and you know, so we won't have everyone going off the board at the same time. So we have president, vice president. Next year it'll be secretary, treasurer. So I encourage anyone to come to our meetings. We have them here on the even months, and on the odd months they're over at Fullerton on Wednesdays from 3 to 5.
Fantastic. The agenda has been adopted. Now we'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes. And a second? Fantastic. Lori, there was an alteration that you would like to suggest?
Yeah, I wasn't here, but I noticed that Adam Eckenroth's name is misspelled everywhere throughout the document.
Adam.
Yeah, not Albert. First off, it's Adam, not Albert.
Okay.
And so it's on page 1, 3, 6, and 7.
Okay.
And it should be Adam, A-D-A-M.
Okay.
And then Eckenrode is E-C-K-E-N-R-O-D-E.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mark?
It's just that one thing in the curriculum committee, just one slight phrasing. The
Okay.
deadline for classes.
What page is that?
It's on page 4 if I put my glasses on.
Okay.
Pre-launch deadline for classes 2010 or older.
Or
Older rather than newer. That's all.
Okay.
That's it.
So on page 4 under item D, curriculum committee, it should now read curriculum chair Mark Majarian inform the Senate that the pre-launch deadline for classes 2010 or older is March 27th. Okay. Any other, Mark, Mark, I think I circled that your name was spelled wrong.
Yes,
On page
there
6?
are only 11 times actually that it's misspelled wrong.
Oh, only 11?
It's misspelled correctly actually. It's spelled wrong though, yeah.
Okay.
There's an extra O and not enough E's, but I don't know if
Okay,
we
so
can
we
leave
need
it,
to
but
fix Mark's name
probably, yeah.
all the way through. So it is correct on the first page?
Well, on the roll.
Okay,
Yes.
it's correct there and then wrong everywhere else?
Right.
Okay. Any other items? Yes, ma'am.
I was here, and it shows me absent and present as the program review chair, so
Okay.
I was actually here for both.
All right, we'll fix that. Any other items? Well, then I'll point out the ones that I found. On page 4, under item J, District Council on Budget and Facilities, there's one too many C's in DCC. The difference between DCCC and DCC is huge. The district consultation council, got to get these right, versus the district. Thank you. So there's one too many C's on that one. And then on the top of page 5, the Senate is moving to forward the name of Becky Floyd instead of Beck Floyd. And I got Mark's name. And I think that was all of them. So with those changes, are we okay to approve the minutes? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Fantastic. We have approved our minutes. Public commentary. Do we have anyone here for public commentary?
Hi.
Welcome, Ashley. You want to introduce yourself?
Sure. I'm Ashley Griffith. I'm the Special Project Director for Student Equity. I just wanted to come and say thank you for selecting 2 people to serve on our Equity Committee. We are really hoping to have a lot of faculty presence. And also, just to let you know that the Student Equity Funding Request Form is still out and is still available. So if you guys have any funding requests for any projects or activities that you might want to do with your students, or anything that you were thinking to, just start up if you have ever wanted to get something funded and didn't have the opportunity. This funding period, 2014-2015 budget is good through September 30th. So I still have time to use this budget before I have to use 2015-2016. So there's still time.
Are there any caps on what they can put in for in terms of monetary value?
There are no caps right now.
And types of activities?
There's a list on the Student Equity Funding Request Form, and if I can send that to you and maybe you send it out, there are a list of things that are allowable expenditures. So, and Keith knows all about it. He's on the committee. So, yeah, the list will give you complete detail.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Any others for public commentary? No?
Really well. Something that's easier than that. So I know it's not close, but the cap for Cleveland's has that could go Senate list.
Everybody has to make that choice.
And I guess we'll do
There are musicians who look down on me because I have a date. When younger musicians act, it's a personal choice. You have to decide what you value.
Now, the verdict,
I mean, I know lots of musicians who have died because they don't have proper medical health insurance. And I didn't want to be that musician. So I found a job. And my bills are in the fall and winter. And then we do Western
So like during the summer,
and usually during the school year, my friends and friends because I feel like we're going to start playing out again. Well, and you know, the easiest way is if you navigate to my website, get on our email list.
But I told them, well, but like, I don't feel like I really have to.
Making that see what you're doing by about 5 seconds.
We have a quorum, folks. Although I am missing our secretary and our immediate past president, they are otherwise obligated to architect interviews, so they will be joining us later. But we can get started because we do have a quorum. I counted and made sure of it. So let me ask, are there any alternates in attendance? Do I see any alternates? No? Okay. Then let's take a look at the agenda. And there are a couple of guests who will be joining us today, and I told them that I'd do my best to make sure that we could make their items time specific. So I would like to entertain a motion to accept making under item A on faculty issues new business the 50th anniversary celebration time specific at 3:30 and the student success elevated time specific at 4 p.m. If there are no objections to that, I'll entertain a motion and a second. Excellent. And a second? Fantastic. Are there any time-sensitive items that need to be moved? Ooh, very well then. May we adopt the, we'll take, with those two changes for time certain, can we adopt the agenda? Yes, sir. Ron?
I was looking at the faculty awards.
Yes, sir.
And I noticed we're way behind in the timeline. Should we move that up so that we get to it this meeting?
The faculty awards discussion I will
Is it
put under
on?
president's report. Is that okay?
That's
so
fine.
that we address it there?
That's fine.
Okay. Thank you for bringing that up. Lori, did you have an item?
Corrections
Yeah.
on the minutes.
Oh, can we wait to adopt the agenda until we look
I'm
at
sorry.
the minutes? Is that
I missed
okay?
that. Sorry, I thought you said minutes. Forgive me.
My bad. If I did say minutes instead of agenda. I would like to adopt the agenda with those two changes for 3:30 and 4 under faculty new business. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Okay, sorry to hear. Just careful not to fall.
Hi, Professor. Rosary, no?
Goldberg.
Goldberg, okay. You look like a Rosary, similar.
Yeah. I know. People come up to me all the time and say, I didn't know you. And I go, oh, sorry.
Because you know why? It is quicker for me to do that thing. Are you gonna right here?
For now, just get a wide shot. And then you'll see that whatever that little box is or whatever, what they're doing is the president of the Senate, so she'll be mostly no. Joe was sitting over
Back
there.
to trouble,
Just left.
wherever we can.
Last time we sat at the back end of it.
Over here?
This is good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Oh, somebody's here.
Great.
Yeah, probably wants to be like down, but he likes to sit next to Brian. So busy.
And then I'm gonna stick you next to
And everyone else just has, they're like heavy committee. Or heavy departments. They don't really, okay, it was like this one, it isn't like, there's no assigned body. Sit wherever they want.
It wasn't me.
Mostly in a department.
Oh, I should pick up.
Spring break ready.
I don't think they emailed you today.
They email him.
Where?
I have my pad. You can look at my pad.
It's so much paperwork, I don't print it on email, I just break my computer because I got tired of having 100 pounds.
I have healthy snacks if you're interested.
Uh-huh. Granola?
Granola.
Homemade? Did you package it yourself?
No, it looks like it's homemade. It's $8.
How's my hair?
Oh.
Perfect line of sight right there, you know?
Right scoop.
You can even do a close up and you wouldn't even know.
I know, I see that when they go around. You did that across the basketball, around that hoop night.
So I gotta tell you this, so I got the nice microphone.
Oh, yeah.
Paid like $20 for it.
Yeah.
And it works in a when you put it in, you have no access to the headphones. And there's no speech.
Usually people do
Pretty good area. I love that color. How you doing, buddy? I guess it looks handsome and beautiful all the same time.
Does it get recorded?
No,
Oh, that's
that
good.
part is not recorded. But I need to hear, it tells me things like recording started.
Well, you know, we play, I think rock and roll that's influenced by the blues or blues rock, something like that, it just depends. And, but we have 5 CDs out.
Do you really?
Yeah.
There's an ear and a microphone.
Tour across the US. We did a tour in Europe.
No way.
We've gone to play in Canada. Our biggest show was for 6,000 people at a festival in Canada. Yeah.
So now you're listed under quick links, is that something?
I'm the lead guitarist
Because
and
I
lead
wasn't
singer.
figure out the button.
Songwriter, yeah. And so I've written all the music for our CD.
I put it here.
So it's a quick
Yeah, thanks. That's like my real life. This is my secret hidden life. People in that life mostly don't know my music.
You know, you've done that.
So it sounded kind of.
So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if I could make enough money
Yeah.
We'll have a website.
doing that, I wouldn't be here, even though I love
Actually, I went back to this.
I love teaching, but I love music more. So I would do that if I could.
And you, the process is you want to create an exclusive process to the actual Senate.